They say they can't find it.
Ray did.
So as a lot of you guys know, we've lived here for 4 years now. My daughter started high school here, which is a big thing for a kid, and she made homecoming court. So I'm really excited about that and proud of her.
Congratulations, Ray. That is awesome. Congrats to your family on that. It's exciting. Jeff Ehlers.
After being away from GSM for 8 months, it's good to be back working for the greatest company that I've ever worked for. So thank you to Joel and Steven for bringing me back.
Thanks, Jeff. And that was mostly coming back to work with me, right?
110%.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. Anybody else?
I got a professional one. It doesn't really involve me, but I got one. You good?
Anybody else?
Say it.
All right, nobody else has got good news. I've got to have more good news than that. So I'm going to wait a minute because I'm patient.
We can't share in there, but I got one.
All right, well, come on. Michael Ginther's got one. Come on.
Hey, y'all, we couldn't share in the training room, so my son Max played in his first little Under Armour junior tournament this weekend and won his first tournament yesterday. So that was pretty cool for a new 17-year-old golfer. So very small tournament, but pretty proud of it. It's pretty neat.
Takes after his mother.
Yes, not me.
Perfect. All right, anybody got any other ones? Thank you,
Hey,
Mike.
I don't know.
Congrats.
Can you guys hear me? This is Jeff back at the shop. Not sure if I've raised my hand or not, but yeah, I got a couple of, personal one. Both kids are doing great. My daughter's getting ready to graduate. My son's working and in college and just got his first raise. From a professional standpoint, we started on February 10th, a training program, and we're a solid month and a half into it. With our coworkers here in the shop, everything's going really well with that. So very excited about that and looking forward to continuing that.
Jeff Vale, thanks so much, man. That is awesome. And it is making big progress. I tell you, we're gonna cut it off there because I tell you that bleeds into exactly what we're talking about today. I wanted to circle the wagons on what we talked about last time with Stephen 2 weeks ago. And, he talked about the 5 C's of leadership: candor, commitment, consistency, contentment, and courage. And one of them that really jumped out at me is courage. That last one that he talked about. And if I'm gonna run back to that slide that he had, maybe. Courage, you got to be a person with courage, which is the habit of setting aside fear to turn hardship into grace. While a leader may be effective by pretending fear does not exist, the virtuous leader accepts fear as the natural and necessary human emotion that it is and overcomes it. And he overcomes it through self-control and being prepared. When we, look, it's great. In our history, I've studied a lot of our history, and I wanted to talk today about a guy that one of our historical figures, Dwight D. Eisenhower. And courage really jumps out at me, and hopefully you guys, when you think about Dwight D. Eisenhower and what happened to him in his life, and it really can apply to all of us with what we do every day, and use him as he was a West Point graduate. He was the 34th president of the United States, 1953 to 61. He was a 5-star general in the Army, and he was the Supreme Allied Commander for the Allied Expeditionary Force in Europe. And he planned and supervised D-Day invasion in Normandy. And one of the things that really jumped out at me thinking about him is, to be prepared to lead and plan that invasion for Normandy. He prepared for that his entire life. He didn't just come in one day and all of a sudden he was able to do those incredible things. He really worked hard throughout his life to slowly improve himself, but he had a lot of setbacks along the way. And I think a lot of times we'll all get in a position where we have setbacks and we'll let them get us sidetracked. I know I have a lot of setbacks every day, but if I'm dedicated, I'll keep getting better, and I don't look at the setback as a setback. I look at it as an opportunity to improve. And every time we get up from a setback, we keep growing. A couple things: when he was young, when he was a freshman in high school, he suffered a knee injury when he was playing football, and the infection spread all the way throughout his leg. And the doctors told him that they were going to have to amputate his leg, because if the infection kept spreading, he would die. And he refused to let them amputate his leg. And miraculously, he recovered. But because he was so dedicated and he refused to let them amputate, he kept his leg. And it was one of those things that I think he could have it would have affected him adversely the rest of his life if he didn't do that. When World War I, when he was in World War I and broke out, I'm sorry, I'm gonna skip back. When he was at West Point, it was interesting. He was a very middle of the road student when he went to West Point. He wasn't one of the top students. If you looked at his history now, with him being a president and being the commander over all the Allied forces in Europe, you would have thought he must have been the top of his class, but he was not at all. He was right in the middle of his class at West Point. But what he was good at was communication in English. He knew how to communicate with people, and those were his best subjects. When he went into World War I, he asked to go to the Philippines, to go into an overseas. He wanted to be stationed overseas, but he didn't get that overseas station. They refused it, and he didn't like it, and he was mad. But he was assigned to a tank training platoon in Maryland, and so he took that and ran with it. In World War I, he got to work under some of the best leaders and generals in tank tactics, and so he learned along the way. He didn't take it as a defeat. He kept trying to get better. In World War I, and in between the war, between the two wars, he got to train under some of the best generals, and he stayed getting better, and he stayed improving himself all along. So he took a long road view of how he was going to be improved in the future. So he worked on improving himself the entire time. And think about this: when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, Eisenhower was a brigadier general who had never commanded men in the field in battle. And so by November of 1942, because of all the communication and all the contact and all the learning that he had done, he was appointed Supreme Commander of the Expeditionary Force over North Africa. He won in North Africa, and then in December of 43, he was appointed Supreme Allied Commander over in Europe, which led to D-Day and led to us winning the war. So my point on that is he he worked through all these failures to get better and better and better. And that's what I think applies to us. But it wasn't just luck that he did that. This quote really stands out to me. I have two kinds of problems, the urgent and the important. The urgent are not important, and the important are never urgent. Eisenhower had a system he followed on how he made decisions. And we're going to share this with you. We're going to send this to all of you. And I wish I had followed this formula, this chart my entire life, but I've just come on it recently. But if you'll go back and look at his history, he was able to spend a lot of time. He was able to save a lot of time by putting issues and opportunities in the correct categories. And in today's world, with how we run our business and maybe even how we run our lives and how we help each other, I think a lot of times we struggle with that. I know I do. So if you look to the upper right, the decisions in the red quadrant, the things that happen to you are important and they're urgent. So think about what happens around here. We have emergencies. We have somebody in the middle of winter that has no heat. We need to manage that and go do something with it. We have a roof that's pouring in water, and we have a customer that's getting really wet and damaging their stuff. That's an emergency. We need to go hustle and we need to go do it. It's important and it's urgent. So those things are things that we need to really jump on and you really need to handle right then. Go to the second quadrant, and you can see in the second quadrant that these things are more, they're not urgent, but they're important. These are the things that we need to get more focused on. And, we actually struggle with that because when you lose the urgency, you tend to put them off. Think about, I love the bottom one, diet and exercise. I wish I could strike that one out. But, this is strategic planning. This is maybe personal investment in your education. Maybe it's investment in the future. Maybe it's financial investment for yourself. But these are things that today you don't see that are that urgent, but they're really, really important to your long-term success. So we need to break more time to be able to focus on those. The third quadrant, and on the second quadrant is where we really make bigger impacts long-term for our future. For the company's future, for your personal future, but we tend to get stuck in the urgent and important crisis every day. So we got to be able to handle those better. The third quadrant is things that are not important, but they're urgent. Now, I love this in a thought process of you need to be working on avoiding those. You need to give those some pushback, and you need to delegate those. This is almost all of our interruptions fall into this place. This is the thing where your emergency is not necessarily important to me, or doesn't mean it's my emergency. So, look at those and watch those things, because those tend to be the ones that really hurt us from a time standpoint and being able to focus on things. And then the fourth quadrant is just general things that are not urgent and they're not important. We get distracted. Social media, maybe in today's world, we all have these phones that everything's an emergency and but it's really not. Nothing's on these phones, checking Fox News or checking what's going on or whatever. It's not really important to us, and it's not urgent, but it really ends up killing a lot of our days. The reason this really meant a lot to me when I saw it in conjunction with Eisenhower is think about what he had to do. He was completely in charge of the planning and supervising of sending hundreds of thousands of men to the beaches of Normandy to try to save the world. Every day we come into work and we're dealing with, well, we got to finish this call, or we got to take care of this customer. We got to get people heating and air conditioning. But day in and day out, people's lives aren't at stake based on the decisions we're making today. Countries aren't going to fall apart because of the decisions we're making, or we're not going to lose a war or a battle because of the decision we're making. But still, he was able to make these huge decisions. He had to, by following this kind of quadrant approach. So I think we'll all benefit. I'm going to try to use it in the future. And from a leadership standpoint, I think this will help us if we can figure out what to focus on first and what to delegate on the other side of it. So this week, one of the things I'd like us to do is spend some time. We're gonna send you this quadrant approach. We're gonna send you this to each of you after this meeting, and hopefully we can help you recognize where items that you're into fit into the 4 quadrants and what you can do with each item so you can win more, and then so you can focus more on the important items first that have a longer lasting impact on the future success for you personally, and then also for the company and for your teams. Because, you know, I know we know and we believe that if you guys are winning personally and you're winning with your teams, then the company's going to win and our coworkers are going to win. And so at the end of the day, our customers are going to win. So listen, that's the end of my message today. Appreciate the time. Sorry about some of the technical difficulties. When we do this about 27 times, we'll probably get it perfect. But we really appreciate everybody and being on this call. Have a great week, and we'll see you later. Thanks.